How do you dance in front of the Kala? Kala Noah, the Chasuda Beis Hillel says, Shammai says, Kala K'moy Shehi, tell it as it is. Rashi learns Meraktin doesn't mean to dance as much as, what do you say? What words of encouragement do you give to the Chassid and Kala? And we pass like Beis Hillel that you should say Kala Noah the Chasuda, even though Beis Shammai asked the question, but what if she isn't so pious or so beautiful? What if she's Rahman al-Islam lame? What if she has a nose from here to the Mississippi River? It doesn't say that exactly. What, should you say Kala Noah the Chasuda just because that's how the song goes? It says Mivar Sheker Tirchak, you're not allowed to lie. And Beis Hillel answers the proverbial answer that perhaps you all know. If a person makes a purchase from the marketplace, someone buys a new suit, a new dress, a new piece of jewelry, should you praise it or should you say, wow, you really got ripped off? How much did you pay for that? I can't believe you chose such a thing. It's ugly. You don't say that. You should praise it. Forever a person's mind should be intermingled with others and sensitive to the fact that they bought it, they chose it, they like it. So praise it. Of course, if they have not yet made the deal, it may be different. If he's asking an eitzah, this person chose this Kala Noah the Chasuda. She's beautiful to him, and that's the most important thing. In another Gemara it says, Igra de Behilule, the main reward for going to a chasana is mili, is the words that you say. And you wonder, when learning these two Gemaras, why the Indian of words is so important. The words that are said before the Kala, words that may not even seem to be true, but they are true because you're mu'ura, because you're so sensitive to the other person. Why are words so important? Why are they mentioned in this Indian of marriage? And the answer we can conclude is simple, because words are really important. Words are really what marriages are all about. A marriage, the success of a marriage comes by virtue of the mili, igra, we might say. The success, the schar, igra de behilul, the schar not for going to someone else's wedding, but of your own marriage. The success of one's own marriage is mili, is through the words, the kind words, the choice of words, the encouraging words, the complimentary words, the affectionate and loving words, the communicative words, the exchange of words and ideas, and the growth process that ensues. And the crux of what Torah Jews know to be the great institution of marriage, in spite of what the world says. There's a story told about an old couple at McDonald's. And behind them in line is this young fellow, and he sees the old man order a simple order of one burger, one order of French fries, and one soft drink with an extra cup. And he has pity on them. They must be so poor, probably not getting Social Security anymore, and they can only afford one order for both of them. He would like to do something for them. He watches more. The old man goes to the table, and he sets the tray on the table. He takes the burger, he cuts it exactly in half, and he places half in front of his wife. And then he counts out the French fries, one for me, one for you, one for me, one for you. My wife said, what's the big deal about this story? You always do this. And then the soft drink, he pours half of the soft drink in the extra cup. And he begins to eat. And she just sits there with her hands folded in her lap. And this young fella just can't take this anymore. And he goes over to the table and he says, sir, I know it's none of my business, but please allow me to purchase another meal for you. It would be my honor. And the old man says, absolutely not. For 50 years it's been 50-50. That's how it's always been, and that's how it's always going to be. And he continues to eat, and the wife just sits there. So then he turns to the wife and he says, excuse me, ma'am, but aren't you going to eat? And she says, not yet. It's his turn to use the teeth. So if we've learned anything today, we've learned that you don't have to share teeth. That's the good news. But you do have to use your teeth to share. Is that a little corny? I guess. One more time. You don't have to share teeth, but you do have to use your teeth to share. Your mouth, your koyach hadibur. That's what makes good marriages. Prioritizing one's dibur with his wife. I want to end with a story. And I hesitate to say this story, this mashal. I'm going to basically read it to you and paraphrase. It's written in a book. Rabbi Zechariah Wallerstein said it. I hesitate to say it for many reasons, because it's kind of sad and harsh, and I may start crying. I hope I start crying. And it made me understand, in a sense, how the Mizbeach is moirid demois. The Gemara says that the Mizbeach cries when a marriage goes sour. And unfortunately, our ability to cry, at least most men, are not as able as the women are in crying, which is a tremendous tool. From the day the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, all the gates have been locked up to one degree or another, except the gate of tears. The Mizbeach sheds tears, the Gemara says. When chas v'shalom, a marriage is not successful, there's much to cry about. When the potential is not used, when the chashivas is not understood, when the priorities are not selected. Here's the story, or the mashal. Chana was born blind. However, she never let her disability define her. She went to a mainstream Beis Yaakov, worked hard at her studies, and gathered a large group of close friends along her journey. When she came of marriageable age, she hoped to find a husband who would also not let blindness define her, but would see her character, talents, and warm personality instead. Fortunately, it did not take long for her to meet Moshe. After just a few days, Moshe and Chana knew clearly that they had found their bashir. They were engaged, and a few months later, they began their new life together as husband and wife. Moshe was a loving and devoted husband who wanted to do anything he could to make Chana's life easier. One day, they were listening together to the radio, and they heard a news story about a doctor in New York who had discovered a way to perform eye transplants. All of a sudden, a new hope burst forth in Chana. While she had always accepted her blindness, now it appeared that there might actually be a possibility for her to see. She could barely contain her excitement as she urged her husband to help her find a doctor and see if she would be a candidate for this surgery. Moshe complied. However, he soon discovered that there was a 20-year waiting list for such an operation. Chana heard the news. She was saddened. She was utterly broken. And now her breath of hope had been quickly extinguished. And blindness felt like a burden in a way that it never felt to her before. She cried bitterly at this broken dream. And Moshe's heart ached for his wife's sorrow. A month later, Moshe came home and he said, Chana, I have great news. I don't know how it happened. You're not going to believe this, but a miracle occurred. And for some reason, you were moved to the top of the list. You are the next one in line to get an eye transplant. I can't believe it, Chana cried out in excitement. Hashem, thank you. What a miracle. Only a few weeks later, Moshe and Chana were on their way to the hospital in Manhattan for the operation that would change her life forever. Once the admission procedures were completed, Chana was brought to her hospital room where she would be given the preparatory test for the surgery that was scheduled for the next day. She lay on her bed, barely able to believe it was real, while Moshe sat silently by her side. At last, Moshe broke the silence. Chana, I want to tell you something that I've never told you before. It's something very serious.